view on aging because I think many times in our culture we get it wrong. And to set it up, I want to throw some things out there. There are some things because there's this idea that we're going to get to here, and it's I'm going to have to use Greek because there are not words in English that actually convey the idea very well. So there are some things that never really get old. That's not me. I get old. And some of you get old, and if I do the lights just like this, some of you are getting really old, if you know what I'm saying. I asked the lady at the Circle K this morning where I get my Sunday morning Diet Coke because I'm not a coffee drinker. And I said, I don't look 40, do you? She said, no way, you look 30-something. And of course, that's what everybody has to say when you say how old you are. I should have asked first. But there's some things that never get old. They just get better, right? I like to think of myself that way. And I think if you're honest, you'd like to say that I think I'm aging well and getting better with time too. Are we not? There's some nods out there. Yeah, I'm aging well. Maybe not so well in the physical, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's one thing that never gets old, right? Blue jeans. Like you can wear blue jeans anywhere, right? You put a sport coat with it, you're good to go. Put some flip-flops with it and a tank top, you're good to go. Doesn't matter. Since blue jeans came on the scene, you can wear blue jeans pretty much anywhere. Wine. I heard wine gets older or better with age. It gets older with age. What a philosopher I am. Wine gets better with age, I hear. You know, the longer that it stays, the better that it gets. Classic rock. Anybody? You know, like there's nobody classic rock. Wow, there's some old Bart back there. There's some old songs that just never get old. The one we played this morning, right? You guys are bopping your head along. You know, maybe there's an Eagles song that you really like, or maybe you like Bruce Springsteen. I mean, he's still one of the greatest artists of all time. He's not doing new songs. He's doing old stuff, right? And people just love it because it gets better with time. The chicken dance. Right? That thing still is at every wedding that you ever go to. Why didn't that go away? It just gets better with time. Bart Mink, I'd like to say he gets better with age too. He definitely has grown on me since I met him. So I want to say he's getting better with age. Now, other things that go, they don't get better with age, right? They come and go, like butterfly suits. I mean, like the 70s, like people want to forget the 70s, right? Polyester, and nobody wants to. What about neon in the 80s, right? Anybody wearing like bright neon shorts anymore? They're probably going to come back in the next 3 weeks, and people are going to be watching this going, come on, dude, those are totally in. You know, those scrunched down socks. The Macarena, has anybody done the Macarena? No, not in like 25 years. Who doesn't know what the Macarena is? There's probably some of you online that don't even know what that is. Check it out on YouTube. You'll see some people doing it. The Dougie. How about just a year ago or 2 years ago, the Whip and Nene, right? Everybody was doing that. There were videos everywhere. I did it with my kids, and now nobody does that anymore. It's just gone. So why are there some things that get better with age? And there's this idea that I want to talk about this morning, that some things get better with age. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I think I'm getting better with age, and I want to justify that classic Jeremy is getting better and better with age. And honestly, the reality is this. One of my greatest fears, and I probably have it in my notes later. I think, as a matter of fact, I do. One of my greatest fears is that I will become a crusty old person. Just like that grumpy old guy that just wants to put spikes in his lawn to keep the kids walking off of it, walking on his lawn. I don't want to become that. I want to stay fun-loving. I joke around. You guys, if you know me, you know I joke. I do it, and sometimes I, step in it. You go a little bit too far in a joke. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. That's me. I'm that guy. I get that from my mother's side, not my dad's side. But I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to get better. And though I wish we could, and this is something on the more important side, I really believe there's something that we can learn from older people. There's wisdom, right? Would you all raise your hand and say, I've gotten a little wiser from the dumb things that I've done, right? Did you learn some hard lessons in your 20s? Get your hand up. Did you learn some hard lessons in your 30s? Yeah? How about, watch this. Did you learn some hard lessons in your 40s? Yes, right? In your 50s, did you learn some hard lessons? The greatest thing, I think did you learn some hard lessons in your 60s? Have you learned some hard lessons in your 70s? There we go. I had to keep going to burn my father-in-law. The reality is this. I think one of the greatest things, and this just hit me when I was in my teens, I'd sit around the table with my grandfather, and he would just tell stories, both of them actually. They would just tell stories, and they would go on. And I thought, because I'm a techno guy, I'm like, why can't we download like wisdom from an old man who's learned so many lessons and put it into young, stupid teenagers so they don't make all the same mistakes? Right? Why can't we do that? Why can't we just zap it, download it, put it on an SD card, and somehow upload it right back into a young person so we could actually get better and not screw our lives up and make the same mistakes in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s and our 50s and our 60s and our 70s? I wish we could do that. And being in the church, this is why it came up. I started being critical, not criticizing the church in my teens. I'm like, why? Like, I would sit around the table with my grandparents and go, wow, I learned so much from them. Now, my parents, they were the stupidest people in the world. But, you know, that's what we all think, right? Teenagers, your parents are the dumbest creatures to ever walk on the face of the earth. Many times, that's usually when you're in trouble. That's what my kids think of me, right? They're not, by the way. I love my parents, and they're amazing people. They really are, and many of you guys know that. If you know my parents, you know them. But that's what we think. But my grandparents, I would sit around and go, wow, they know so much. I wish I just had some of those experiences. And then we go into the church where it's supposed to be this life-transformative community of people, and what happens? We take the old people, and we say, hey, why don't all you old people hang out together and talk about how stupid the young people are and watch from afar? Does that make any sense at all? Right? Like, really, if you've been in a marriage and survived that marriage, or maybe in your second one and you realize you really royally screwed up the first one, but the second one you're doing better because you learned, don't you think it would be important to have some conversations with some newly married people and say, hey, here's a ditch, here's some speed bumps, here's some things that you might want to watch out for in raising kids, in being married, in relationships with family? Wouldn't that make sense? And in the church, we've done something. We've said, no, let's put the old people together. We'll let them, have coffee, cakes, play checkers, and then go to a baseball game here and now. We'll put them on a bus, and they can go and have fun together, right? Ride off into the sunset. Not on a horse, but a chartered bus, maybe. And that's kind of what we've done. And I never understood that. And I want my children, I want you, those of you, to learn from my failures and my successes. And I think there's this problem when we talk about young people and old people. I don't know where you fall on that, because I still think I'm a young person. I think I'm going to be a 60-year-old young guy. You're going to see me in flip-flops and shorts, and that's what my wife said. She said, you see that guy over there? That's what you're going to be like. And it's like, wrinkled. He was wrinkled to the hilt, sunbathed. I mean, he was just brown, leathery skin, shorts and flip-flops, just, flopping through Costco. She's like, that's exactly how I expect you to look when you're... And I said, well, great. If I can do better than that, then I'm one ahead. But I think there's this problem that we have. Both young and old people often have a wrong view of time. See, the younger generation looks at old generation and says they're washed up, they're has-beens, that they've been infected by this time that makes things irrelevant, that just because you're old means you're irrelevant. Your ideas, your time, your prime, that was in the past. We have nothing to look forward, and we have nothing to learn from that. And that's a wrong view of time. Many young people think old equals useless. You're old. You're useless. What possibly could you do to change my life? How could you impact my life at all? Facebook, it just keeps messaging. Like, it just keeps popping up on here. Go away. They're in my way. All you Facebook people. When you're watching this, you ruined it today. You ruined it. Now, the older generation looks at younger generation, says they're entitled, right? Wait till they get to be my age. Wait till they see how that turns out. Or just go ahead and wait. See, they don't even know. Have you ever heard this? You don't even know what you don't know. That's a true statement. When I was in my 20s, now that I'm in my 30s for a few more hours, now that I'm in my 30s, I realized in my 20s I didn't know what I didn't know. And one of the coolest things, honestly, for me, he's here today, Justin. He's like a little brother to me. He's like a couple years younger than me, maybe more than that, but whatever. One of the coolest things in our relationship has been able to share my life experiences and in some ways mentor him. And just, him ask questions. And there was one, it just blew my mind. One day, years ago, I gave him a CD with some worship songs on it. Because when I met him, Justin, he was just partying. He was 20 years old. He was just, the world was his oyster. And I could see, even at my few years older, he didn't know what he didn't know. So I started hey man, what about this? And asking him questions that I knew he had to think about. And I gave him like a worship CD. And you know what? Years later, this was so cool. He texted me like a few years ago. He said, you know that CD you gave me with all these songs on it? And I said, yeah. And he says, I listened to that so many times. And see, I was older than him, not much older than him, but I made an impact on him because the wisdom, the things that I could see, the blind spot that he couldn't see. Sorry, man. I didn't even mean for this to come out. But the reality is it's one of the greatest successes in my life is to have a friend, Justin Gillia, here by my side, doing what we do, living life together, and knowing that in some ways my wisdom had an impact on his life because people before me's wisdom had an impact on my life. Does that make sense? That's where we're going today. See, I want to sum up the younger and older generation in a scene from a movie because I think in movies oftentimes. And maybe you guys haven't seen this, but maybe you have. It's from the movie Cars. I think in many ways that sums up, and I want to show that because I think that sums up the thought process behind young and old. And somewhere in there we switch to being the old person, right? We look back. And I want to jump into the scriptures. It says this in 1 Peter 5:5-7. It says, likewise, you who are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility toward one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him, because he cares for you. I want to talk about the Greek. There's this idea of humility, right, that comes along with the Hudson Hornet was not very humble. He knew he was going to rub it in. He did it. Neither was Lightning McQueen. Neither one of them very humble at all. But I want to talk about this idea. I told you we're going to get into Greek a little bit. It's a little bit Greek to me, so I'm going to make it as English as possible. There are two words in the Greek that they mean new. There's two words for new. Like we say new and we mean new, right? It's new. What do you mean it's new? Well, it's new. Like, duh, it's new. It's not old. It's new. But in the Greek, there are these two different types of words for new. There's one that's the classical idea of new, like we're thinking of new, like it's new on the scene, like a fresh sound, like a brand new band, like they're 17, just came out of the garage, and this is their first album, their freshman album. Like, here it is. We've never heard anything like it. It's brand new on the scene. Right? There's a new car, like you drove it off the lot and it still has the stickers. I did that one time. I'll never do that again. I learned that one. It's expensive to buy new cars. Much cheaper to let somebody else buy the new car, drive it for 15,000 miles, and then buy it from them for half the price. Right? It's new. There's this idea of new, and that word in Greek is neos, N-E-O-S, neos. It's this idea of brand spanking new, like a brand new baby that just came out. A brand new home where the paint is still wet. There's this idea, it's just new, it's fresh. But the reality is that things are fresh and new, they all get what? Old. Time makes them old. Time makes things that are brand new, it makes them old. Now there's this other word in the Greek, and it's called kainos, K-A-I-N-O-S. Kainos is this idea of new, that things become better as they get older and they have new levels of new. Does that make sense? Like there's blue jeans, and you ever notice this? Isn't this ridiculous that we literally buy blue jeans that look like they're old because they look new? Does that make sense? Like, I want them with the holes in them and the circle in the pocket. I mean, I told a girl the other day, I said, your phone's about to fall out of your pocket. There's a hole in the pocket. She goes, I know. I bought them that way. And I was like, okay, well, if you want to lose your $1,000 phone out of your back pocket, you go ahead and do so. I'm not saying I've never had jeans that don't have holes in them, but we do, and we don't have a word for it, we do value things that are new, but not new. Does that make sense? I've got an iPhone in my pocket right here. The cool thing about the iPhone is that this phone is literally like 3 years old, the physical device. But every single year, Apple says, you know what? We came up with some new ways that we can run software on here, and it's going to give you more functionality, and it's going to work better. It's going to be a little bit faster. It's going to use a little less of your battery. It's going to go longer. And we go, all right, let me download that. And we go, wow, all new features on old hardware. Man, literally, I moved a computer we have down to the living room because we want to monitor what our kids are doing on the computer, and they have to use it a lot for school now. And I brought this computer down. I go, man, I've had this little Mac Mini forever. And I looked back, I bought it in 2009. It's 8 years old, and it's still just purring along like a champ. Because it's had, I think I look back, 8 revisions of an operating system update. 8 revisions. So it functions a lot like a brand new computer, a bit slower, but it has almost all the same features. It feels new, even though it's very old in computer terms. I mean, 2-year-old computer is like, throw it in the garbage and get a new one. Now, people are a lot like Kainos. See, we come into the world as neos, as babies, right? But the awesome thing about the way that God created us is that we can transform and become new again. This idea of Kainos, it covers the idea of a qualitative newness, that I hope that I'm not the same old person that my aunt was looking at when I was 9 years old. I was dumb and didn't know a lot of things. I get in arguments with my kids and I wonder, why am I even arguing? Like, seriously, why am I having this conversation? Son, you don't know what you don't know. But this idea of Kainos is that we can continue to change. We can continue to grow. Getting old is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And the Bible tells us that getting old is a blessing. Psalm 92, 12 through 15 says this: the righteous will flourish like a palm tree. Now, if you know anything about a palm tree, this is awesome. Palm trees can flourish like in the worst conditions ever. Tiny bits of water, one of the strongest trees around. They live in the desert. And they just stay up. A windstorm like we had this past weekend, no problem. Palm's like, I'm just going to shed a couple of these palm fronds. No problem. I'm going to stay up. I'm not falling over. I got all these. Tornado went through Arkansas. Some of our friends were posting all kinds of pictures of downed power lines and trees and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, man, if they just built power lines out of palm trees, they'd still be standing up. They would. Palm trees are incredible. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon, planted in the house of the Lord. They will flourish in the courts of our God. Verse 14, they will still bear fruit in old age. I love that. They will still bear fruit. If we continue to grow in our relationship with God into old age, we will bear more and more and more fruit. If you know this, a lot of times fruit trees, they don't even bear fruit when they're young. There are fruit trees that have got to be 5, 6, 7 years old before they even start having fruit on them at all. I love asparagus, and some people are like, oh, yeah, you don't ever grow asparagus. You got to wait like 5 years before they come out of the ground. I'm like, that's an eternity. People don't even stay in their houses for 5 years anymore. Why would you plant those? Verse 14, they will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green, proclaiming the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no wickedness in him. There's a quote that says, do not regret getting old. It's a privilege denied to many. I don't know who claimed it, so I'm going to claim it right now. That's my quote. Do not regret getting old, because it's a privilege many do not get. Okay, guys? That's Jeremy Celentano right there. 2 Corinthians 4:16 says this: therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. As I stand here and look out at you guys, many of you I knew years ago. Many I've known for lots of years. Many of you I've known it only in the last year. But the cool thing is we're part of this community together and we're submitting our lives to God. I see new growth and new buds in all of your life. And there is a fresh newness, even though we're physically wasting away. Are you with me? Like, I got aches in places I didn't even know that I had as a 20-year-old. It's like I didn't even know that there was a muscle there until it starts to hurt. You really don't, what's a spleen for? Oh, my spleen, that hurts. But we're being renewed day by day. That's what I love that the Bible puts us in there. He says, you know what, you're going to get old. Your body's going to waste away, but your spirit and your life is going to be renewed day by day. I love this idea of God renewing us day by day. You ever know anybody who just seems youthful to the day they die? I mean, we know crusty people. You all could name at least 5 crusty people that are probably not even in their 50s yet. Man, they just got crusty already. They're just old and jaded, and they're just mentally they are. I love that Gino says this all the time. He says this. He says, I'm not childish, I'm childlike. And I would like to say that, but sometimes I'm childish. Bart knows that. Bart's very childish too. Sometimes we just giggle at the stupidest things, and we're both almost in our 40s. He is, I'm not. But I'm going to get those out right today. It's my last day, guys. It's my last day to get those out. I'm not childish, but I'm childlike. And Bart says, if you're as old as you feel, then you must still be 18. And I feel like I'm 18, except when I wake up after I worked at Costco till 11 o'clock at night. That really wears me out. But there are some people who seem old at heart, some people who are young at heart. See, I look forward as I'm getting older. I'm 40. I feel like the 40 is the new 20. I feel like, man, I've got 25, 30, 35 years still to push at this thing. And I'm looking forward to, see, my life was cool when I just did fun things when I was young, but now I'm looking forward to seeing the fruit of my labor. I'm looking forward to seeing how my wife changes over the years. I'm looking forward to see how my kids turn out. Like, how much did we mess them up and how awesome did they become? I'm going to give God some credit there, but I'm going to take a little bit of that credit, all right? Boy, crickets, you guys. All right, I'm going to give all the credit to God. All right, see, I look forward to seeing the fruit of my labor. I look forward to seeing grandchildren and being able to pour in them. I look forward to seeing what this community of a few turns into over the next 30 years. Because I'm being renewed day by day. And we that continue to surrender our lives to God are being renewed day by day. And we're only going to get better with time. One of the most youthful people, she's here, right here, Davida. I love her spirit. She's like in her 40s, her late 40s. And she's just a youthful spirit. And she just runs around. She does all these things. And I go, I hope I have the energy that Davida has at her age. I still hope I have the passion and I care as much as she does when I'm there, that I don't get jaded and I don't get crusty. See, I look forward to seeing all those things. I look forward to tackling those things later in life that I couldn't even do early in life, the things I couldn't even think of. There's a story in the Bible. It's found in Joshua chapter 14, but I got to set it up before I get to what I'm going to read to you today. Go away, Facebook. Yeah. There's a story of Moses and the Israelites leaving Egypt. And they're going out, and I'm going to make this as brief as possible because we're like already should be done. And I got a bit more to say. They're leaving Egypt. They're going to the promised land where God is leading them. And they get to a city called Canaan. And they get there, and the Lord tells them to take it. But what Moses and Aaron say, the leaders of the Israelites, they say, we're going to send spies in. We're going to send in spies, and we're going to check it out. We got to take over this place. We're going to see, are they strong? Are they numbered? Is there a lot of men, women? Do they have a lot of armor? What is it like in this land? Is it even a fruitful place to live? So they send out spies, 2 from each tribe, and all of them go out, and they come back, and they come back with a report to Moses, and they say this. They say, to Moses and Aaron, 10 of them come back, and they say, we can't do it. It's awesome in there, but we're afraid. We're afraid to go tackle that thing because we don't believe that our God can help us overtake and live in the land. And 2 of them came back, Joshua and Caleb, and they said, we can do this with God. See, they were 40 years old at this time when they went out. They sent the spies out, and they said, at 40 years old, we can take this place. And what happened is because they made the decision not to go in, because they listened and they were afraid, then God says, you're going to wander the wilderness for 40 years. You're going to wander the wilderness for 40 years, and you're not going to have the land as a punishment for not believing in me and what I can do for you and how I can shape you and how I can grow you and how I can transform you and how I can make things happen that you never thought imaginable. And that's where we pick up Joshua 14, chapter 14, verses 6 through 12. It says, fast forward. Now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephthah and the Kenizzite said to him, you know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea about you and me? I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me to Kadesh Barnea to explore the land, and I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt in fear. He said, I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Verse 9. So on the day Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord God wholeheartedly. Stop. What you think I can do in your life, and even the things that you don't think I can do, but you say, I'm going to have faith and believe that you can do that, even though I don't believe you can, you're going to have it, because I'm God, and you're my child, and you can grow, and you can transform, and you can be made new and renewed. You can be fresh and new and grow every single day, because I'm God, and that's how I made you. I can upgrade your operating system. Verse 10 says this, now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years, since the time he said this to Moses. While Israel moved about in the wilderness, so he says this, Caleb says, so here I am today, 85 years old. I'm still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard that then the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified, but the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as he said. So what do we do with this? What do we do with this? See, in Jewish culture, it was a gift to become old. In Jewish, it was a gift. It was a privilege. And I believe as we grow old, we have to keep learning. We have to keep that youthful spirit. Like Gino says, I don't want to become childish, and I'm not childish. I want to be childlike. Because children think they can do anything. They think they know everything. The world is their oyster. And as we get older and older, for some reason, that slips away. And God is saying, God is saying, no, I want you to stay childlike. Don't be childish. Use wisdom. Gain wisdom as you go along, but continue to be childlike. There is no retirement in the kingdom of God. Just because you retire from your job doesn't mean that you get to retire from the Lord's work. That your better days are ahead of you if you do what God asks you to do. If you continue on, if you keep learning, if you keep trying, if you keep doing. And if you're old, the responsibility's on you. You know, oftentimes we'll say to the young, they don't know what they don't know. But keep asking, keep pursuing. You know, get in there. Keep asking, what can I do? How can I help you? How can I change? You know, or how can I assist you? You know, in the kingdom, like I said, there is no retirement. I mean, I've joked I only want to live till I'm like 65 because I don't want to deal with what I've seen people oftentimes over 65 deal with physically. It stinks. It's awful. I mean, I'm sorry that, you know, we have to have bones that get fixed and joints wear out. I already think I need rotator cuff surgery. It feels like my arm pops out. And my dad didn't even have to have that done until he was 49. You're welcome, Dad. Ish. Yeah. 49-ish. So what do we do with? So if you're young or you're young at heart, dream big. Ephesians 3:20 and 21. I love this. It says this, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. That's God, by the way, not you. For him who is able to do immeasurably more than we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. I can dream big, but God can dream bigger for me. And if we stay childlike, if we tap into that, we can accomplish things that are far greater than we ever believed we could with the power of God at work in our lives. So, to all of us, I want to sum it all up. You may find yourself today feeling a bit crusty because things ache when you get out of bed. Things ache when you're in bed. You may feel yourself a little crusty up here where you go, man, those stupid, why? You know, why do they do that? What is this in culture? I wish I could just go back to the good old days, right? But that's not the mentality God is calling us to have. The mentality God is calling us to have is he's saying, invest in the young. Transfer the wisdom. Like, you can't download it, but you can invest in the young. As we're getting older, I hope to pour and pour more and more out into young people, that we would just say, because, man, we as older people are going to have them do the work vicariously. We're going to have to do the work vicariously through them. We need physical bodies to carry out what the dream is and the wisdom to go and do that. And we need that, and yet they need the wisdom so that they can help stay on the right tracks in life, right? We can help them out. Hey, watch out. Don't go left down there. You know, I love the app Waze, because like, no, you think you want to get on the freeway because in theory you're supposed to be able to go 65, but they're going 2. It's better to go 40 on the street and stop every couple minutes at a light. You'll get there faster. And that's the way we should treat life. No, don't go down that way. It's not good that way. Let's go this way. Now, I want to sum this all up. All of us, if we can all take the approach that we honor the previous generation. So there's something that Asians are really good. I get to observe people when I'm at Costco. There's a lot of Asians that come in our store, and it's really cool to watch, like, not just an immediate family come in, but an extended family come in, and the way that the old people are shuffling along, older, through the store, and the young people are loading the cart, pushing the cart, but they're doing it together as a family. There's something else Asians do. Man, I'm becoming a fan of Asians. Something else that they do, they stay limber because they exercise. They use what they've got. You know, you ever seen like an Asian person? It looks funny. I'm sorry, this is gonna go, and I won't be your pastor next week. But they're brilliant, right? They say use it or lose it. And you'll see them walking, whereas, you know, we walk like this down the street, or we do our walk, but they're doing this, swinging their arms and bending over while they're walking. And you know what? I see a lot of Asian people that get around a lot better than, you know, whites and blacks and Hispanics. And it's like, they're doing something right. We can learn something from them. Okay? They're good. I mean, those qualities are good. Now, physically, I want to move that over to the spiritual. I want to move it over to the middle. Keep using what you know is good. Keep using it. And honor the previous generation. And secondly, bless the coming generation. This is so hard. We want to say, you know what? If the future's in their hands, we're all screwed, right? Right? You look at millennials and Generation X, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm dead before they lead. But that's the way that we see it oftentimes. I hope they're dead before they lead. We got to honor the previous generation and bless the coming generation. We have to use what we have, all of it, our gifts, our talents, abilities, relationship, to continue to push them forward on the right path instead of condemning them and saying, you know what, it's all going to hell in a handbasket. This is a biblical view of aging. This is what God intended. That's why we cannot download a mind and give wisdom to a child, because you ever think it's by chance that animals, like, they have a parent in the wild for like a couple of weeks, sometimes days to months maybe, yet we raise our offspring at least for 18 years, if not longer than that? Why? Because it was God's intended purpose that we would invest in one another's lives, that we would grow with one another as we continue to teach and to train and to download that wisdom to one another. Honor the previous generation, bless the coming generation. Okay, now this is where it gets really self-serving, because it's my day. I'm claiming it. I'm going to have my dad come up in a little bit. He's probably terrified right now, but I'm going to have him pray over me. See, in my 20s, in my 20s, I wanted to make enough money to own my life. And I thought, you know what? I had the means to do it. I had the business I was involved in. I could own my life by the time I was 35. I'm not 35. I don't own my life. The comical irony is that I actually earn less money than I did when I was in my 20s. That is comical. And yet, I'm far more satisfied now because of what I've accomplished in my life, because of the trajectory and direction in following Jesus Christ. I'm far more excited about where my life is going than I even was in my 20s, when I thought 15 years from now I'm going to own my life. That makes no sense naturally. Like, I know I'm a financial planner. I help people do the right thing with their money. And the reality is I look to my future and I go, man, I sure know all the ways to do the right things with money, but I ain't got no money to do the right things with. I'm serious. I'm serious. I don't have a retirement plan. I do. It's really baby right now at Costco. They started giving me 3% or something like that. It's like $400. But that ain't going to feed Janie and I for very long. So if I don't have money in old age, I want some of you to rally around at least my wife and make sure she has a roof over her head and some food in her belly, okay? Okay, that's all I ask. I can live in the step van that we have. That's fine. I don't mind that as long as she'll visit me or I can visit her. And in my 20s, that's what I wanted. I think it's comical. My fear today is that I wouldn't succeed. My fear is not today that I wouldn't succeed, but that I would succeed at the wrong things. I want to stay limber. I want to stay about God's business, and I want my dad to come up, and I want you guys to pray over me because I'm 40 years old today. And I got, who knows, I might have another week, but I hope I got another 30 years to help and I can stay young and I can push through, but that's what I want the prayer for. I don't want to go down the crusty road, okay? I want to stay on the other road. I don't want to be a crusty old guy where you go, oh, he preached that one a few years ago and he preached it the year before that. He doesn't even remember what he preaches anymore. We heard that one last week. Okay? I don't want to become that guy. That is my fear. I want to continue to be fearless. Amanda said, our fearless leader, I want to be fearless. I want to scare you guys. I want to be the one who scares you when I say, we're going to do this. I know I scared many of us when I said, we're going to do a Royal Family Kids Camp, and it's going to cost $35,000. And there was 35 of us. And I'm like, and they're like, where are we going to get people and money? And I said, I don't know, but God can do it because he can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. I want to stay that guy. I want to model that so you become those people. I want you to say, well, if Jeremy can believe God that much, I can believe God this much. And together we can do amazing things because if God is for us, who can be against us? I want to continue to be fearless. I've heard my mom call me crazy many times, and I don't ever want to see the day that what we do doesn't seem a bit crazy. Doesn't seem a bit crazy. I'm sorry if this seems a bit self-serving, but this is just the reflective thoughts of a 40-year-old man, almost 40, a 39-year-old man looking to be a 40-year-old man. See, I want my wife to look at me with awesome wonder. I want her heart to flutter when she thinks of me. I want her to be proud of who I am. I got a card from her this morning, and she said exactly that, and I want to continue to be that man for my wife that wants to follow me wherever I go. I want to be a man who wants his children to follow in his footsteps and do greater things than I could even imagine. I want to inspire my kids. I want to be a man who wants to, with the help and labor of all of you, create a community that reflects the accepting, healing, transforming love of a gracious, merciful, and loving God. That's what I want to do with you. As we don't get crusty, as we stay kainos, we get better with age. The more that we grow and the more that our lives get older and older physically, we get better spiritually and in maturity. Joshua 14:9 says this, the land in which your feet have walked will be your inheritance and that of your children forever because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Why did Caleb enter the promised land? Because he said, I believe our God can deliver this land to us. And he stuck with it for 45 years. And when God makes promises to us, God keeps promises to us. And I believe when he promised to me and he said, do some crazy things for me. I don't even know what all those crazy things are yet, but I'm going to make sure that they happen. Then that's a check that I can take to the bank. And I want to do that all day long. So there's the ramblings of a 39, almost to be 40-year-old. I don't know where you fall on that spectrum. I'm grateful that you would follow me anywhere, because I don't know. I don't know if I'd follow me anywhere. Sometimes I don't even know what's going on in here, but I know that we've seen life change. I know that God's doing some incredible things in people's hearts. He's changing lives. He's changing minds. He's growing us. He's showing his love. So what we're doing is the right thing. And all I can say is, as I continue on, follow me as I follow Christ. I'm honored to have you follow me, and I don't take that lightly. And I want to follow Christ as best I can. I want you guys to give me some grace and some mercy. I want you to believe in the ideas and a God that I believe in. You don't have to believe in me because I can't do much. I really don't have much means physically, financially, anything anymore. I'm just an empty vessel for a God who wants to change lives and hearts. I want us to stay young, Kanos. We get better with time when we follow God wholeheartedly. Dad, would you come up? Would you pray for me this morning? And then I'll dismiss unless you want to. I think there's a microphone back here.
Oh, yeah. He's going to my strong suit, you know. Lord, as I reminisced, you know, where I was writing out his card, you know, and there's just not enough space to write 40 years worth of stuff. You know, when we brought him home from the hospital in 19 days because he was in an incubator, I'm like, what are we into? What, you know, what do we, you know, I'm 22 years old, but, you know, all I can do is lean on you. And at that point, I probably didn't consciously say that, but God, I've trusted you as I've gotten older. I've trusted in you. We're just flailing as young parents, or I was anyway, just trying to do the best we could to raise this child. And Lord, I know it's all you, in spite of my ignorance and stupidity, but that your grace has brought up my child to be an awesome man of God. And as he picked off what he was saying, that's the things that is what he wants to be. I see him as that crazy person. I'm like, that's not me. He's got faith. I never have. I'm blown away each and every day when I say, you know, when he comes up with an idea, I think we can do this. I want to do that. I want to, you know, reach this. And I told him in the card, I said, I pray that God fills you with that all those thoughts and the passion and the ability to bring life to this dying world. I still can't believe it that I'm sitting under the tutelage of my son. You know, it's just an awesome thing. You know, my dad was a pastor, and I want no part of that. That my son is now, and it's truly awesome. You know, I feel failed, but anyway, I pray over his life that God just gives him all the abilities and all the sensibilities and the wisdom to lead and guide and to, like I said, bring life through people to this dying world around us and in this community. And I thank you for his life, and I bless him and just knock his socks off with amazement. And I pray that in Jesus' name, amen.